So when it comes to sebderm, I think that one of the big questions that individuals have is why? Why do I have this? Is it something that I've done? Probably the smartest thing I could say is, I don't know. We do know that seborrheic dermatitis has several things about it that seem to be important for disease activity. One part of it is the inflammation. The inflammation is what we think about in terms of the redness, sometimes the swelling, and even maybe some of the really severe itch that comes along with it. We also know that the general microbiota, specifically in the case of yeast, also is a part of it too. And we know that in some individuals, there seems to be yeast that can be overactive. Finally, in some emerging data that we have, it seems like the skin barrier itself is a part of the disease too. And perhaps individuals with sebderm don't exactly have the best or most optimal skin barrier. Why does all that happen? Well, it's probably a combination of intrinsic and extrinsic factors. The intrinsic ones being a variety of different genes, let's say, and how they express and what your body does, but then also extrinsic factors like the environment, the weather, the humidity, temperature. These are all things that potentially could be driving some of this too. Is there a cure for seborrheic dermatitis? And I think that's kind of a million-dollar question when it comes to this disease. At this time, no, but that doesn't mean that we won't get to that point in the future. There's a lot of different treatments that we use for this condition to go after some of those areas that seem to be abnormal on the skin. In the case of the barrier, moisturization and really gentle bathing and cleaning is something that you'll end up seeing quite a bit too. In the case of inflammation, topical treatments are going to calm down the activity of the immune system. And I think finally, how do I live my best possible life and make sure that my burden is minimized when it comes to thinking about disease? One of the major issues with seborrheic dermatitis goes even beyond just what you see on the skin. A lot of it just starts with understanding what the disease is and isn't. Not something that you did to yourself, not something that was contagious, but rather a chronic condition that is going to flare and wax and wane. Seborrheic dermatitis can cause a massive burden, not only physically, but also mentally and psychosocially. So the one recommendation I always have for my patients is to really talk about what you're feeling, what effect that your disease is having on your life, and being very open about that. It's my job to make sure that individuals get hooked up to the best care that they need. So you should just never be scared to speak up. And you're going to be surprised that there's a lot of other people that are probably going through the same thing you are.